afternoon, and good evening.
Welcome to another soulful episode of Touching the Stove, the show where we unpack contemporary issues through critical thinking, introspection, and communication theory. I am your gem of a host, Desiree, and I am joined by my debonair co-host.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction, Desiree. My name is Amadou C. I'm here today. I'm here with Desiree. We're having a ball already, and we love that. Last episode, we exposed a lot of y'all cheating ways by talking about communication privacy management theory with an emphasis on boundary coordination and how violating each other's boundaries can lead to cheating or can lead to what we perceive as cheating. We are extremely excited, I should say, to unpack that more. So coming up in future episodes, we'll dive a little bit deeper on that from different angles and see where the depths of cheating will take us. Yes, the depths of cheating. Because some of y'all with the secret families and the oh yes, we didn't even cover you. Oh, as soon as we get the and y'all ain't safe. We on you next. So today's episode
is something that I think we all experience, whether we like it or not. Today we're talking about excellence exhaustion, or otherwise recognized as excellence fatigue, which is pretty much keeping up with the Joneses and being even better than that 24/7. So get yourself cozy and comfortable. Make yourself a cup of coffee or tea, sip on it, and take this roller coaster.
You want people to be zooted on this podcast. You want people drinking coffee.
Focus. I want you
zooted.
In.
I just want you not locked in. We here on Touching the Stove, we suffer from what we call locked in syndrome. Where we are just locked in.
We are locked in.
Ready to go at all times. And we want you along the ride with us.
Why are we here today? So you said I came in here with a smile, but I was also tired, right? Because I don't know about the rest of you all, but 2024 has been a really long 7 months. And very often when we think of relationships, when we think of work, we come to the concept of excellence. We come to the concept of greatness and striving. So today we're looking very closely at excellence fatigue, finding a way to have a break before burnout, and giving you all some tips and suggestions to keep yourself sane as we march on into March. So can you tell us what excellence fatigue is?
Okay. So excellence fatigue, it is individual characteristics of perfectionism and a compulsive need for success, or an organizational culture that rewards or expects overwork in the name of its mission. Man, if you've ever worked 10 minutes in DC government, you'll know what that feels like.
And I dare say, if you've ever done anything and existed in any space outside of your bed, you know what that means, right? So we're taking an active approach into looking at how excellence fatigue can appear in various aspects of our lives, especially, again, like I said, we're wrapping up on Black History Month. We saw a lot of positive strides. We looked into those historical concepts, but just finding ways to uncover the physical manifestation of excellence both in the home and in our personal lives, and at a greater extent, work. What does that look like? So, as Du mentioned earlier on, we're talking about behaviors being reinforced. And a basic law of cognitive psychology says that when behaviors are reinforced, they are increased, right? I, for one, am living in this beautiful bubble where everything is roses and glitter until it is not, because your girl is tired. It is a lot to be right. It is a lot to be excellent. It is a lot to always be turned on. So how do I save myself, and by extension, help you all save yourselves? Because no one is coming to save us. We are heroes of our own story. One of the things that I think is really prevalent, and I've been in a lot of conversations, I've been in a lot of rooms, and very much it sounds like we are all hitting replay and rewind on our stories, right? And I think that this manifests itself also from a different generational lens and a different generational perspective. So I think we all should take notes from Gen Z.
Oh,
I
Gen
love,
Z.
yeah,
Okay,
no,
all
Gen
right.
Z,
Let
come
me hear
on.
it.
They come into the office and they tell you what they're not about to do.
But if I'm employing you,
Right.
how are you going to come in and tell me what you're not going to do?
Because you are asking me to do things after my clock hours and you're not letting me know that you're going to pay me. So why am I killing myself for you when you don't even see the value in reward? For y'all that are stuck between millennial and Gen Z, we're codified as zillennial. So that's looking like the people between the 1996s to the 1999s, because, you know, the 2000 kids are built different.
So you and I would be
Zillennial.
zillennial.
Correct.
So what's the generation right before us?
Millennial.
Millennial.
Correct.
And millennials are doing what in the workplace?
What are y'all doing in the workplace? Because I think there is a very fine line, because a lot of millennials grew up with Gen Xers or baby boomers. Again, this is not a generational focused episode, but I think it has a very large impact on how we perceive the things that we do and how we internalize our decisions, right? So something for me that is really big is starting to build in breaks. I find myself on a constant state of go, and then I'm about maybe 3 to 4 steps from crashing and burning. And we don't want that, because why?
So here's the question then. This state of excellence, this excellent fatigue, this burnout, how do we know this isn't self-caused? What's to stop you, the star employee, the person who gives 110? Shouldn't the onus on you be to not overwork yourself and experience burnout? Or is it the state of affairs, and by that I mean like the average workplace, that is causing you to experience excellent fatigue and therefore burnout? So the question boils down to, is it you yourself that's doing this because you're constantly trying to live up to either imposed expectations or your own expectations? Or is it the environment of the workplace that is causing you to feel like you need to be this excellent person, and that, whether you are excellent or not, and that is what's leading to burnout? That's my question.
I dare say it's both, right? I think that if I have demonstrated certain capabilities and I've showed up in certain capacities, that creates an expectation. Have you ever wondered why it is that the star player always gets more work and the person that is literally doing lackluster things continues to skate by? It's like, we can give it to so-and-so, or we can tap on so-and-so because they always deliver.
But wait a minute. So especially if in your star player scenario, if the team is not performing well, or even if the team is performing well, what is the biggest thing you hear? This person's great. This person's doing this, this, and that. His team is letting him down, or his team is not giving him the help that he needs, or he needs more help. That's what you hear in like star player scenarios. So I would argue that the onus isn't on the star player. He's doing his job. He's doing what he's supposed to do. He came in and said, I'm going to do the work. Whatever you guys give to me, I'm going to shoulder the load. And what you're saying is the guy who's skating by is coming in and saying, I'm not doing this, and that. I'm going to skate by. Y'all don't pay me to do this, and that.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, go ahead.
What I'm saying is the guy that is skating by is hiding in the shadows of the person that's overcompensating.
Because he's not going to do this, and that.
No, because he's lazy.
So what's the difference between, hey, I'm coming in, I'm not doing X, Y, and Z, versus I'm just lazy? What's the difference?
I think that there's the intentionality component of it, right? It's like when you've fixated your mental model, you can be a team player and not be the superstar. Does that make sense?
Like a role player. Yes.
You come in, you contribute, you're engaged, you're invested, but you're not the person that's going to be the first person. You're not the first person in the room to speak, or you're not the person that's going to be the go-to person. However, if necessary and needed, you know when to step up and when to step down. versus insert name.
Okay, let's do a scenario. Xander and Shambuka. Her name is Shambuka, but we're gonna, for the sake,
Seriously, no.
it's a scenario. It's not. It's a hypothetical situation. These aren't real people.
And this is why we have problems with excellence. Because even in this, so you all saw me having logical need to make sure that even the scenario was set up properly, right? I think it speaks to a deeper level of conditioning, right? It speaks to not being able to detach from that pretty perfect cookie cutter package.
Okay, and I'll be the first to tell you life ain't like that. Secondly, does that mean...
I didn't ask you.
It's my podcast. Get your own. You guys did not ask me, but I'm here with the answers anyway. Holla at me. Secondly, am I now not a role player, not an excellent superstar person, because I was willing to go with the imperfect scenario for the sake of continuing the conversation? Am I now not excellent?
I think that, again, that was even us just going back and forth in that, 25 seconds, 30 seconds. We're literally talking, we're processing, we're having ideas, but it was uncomfortable.
What was?
It was unsettling.
What was?
To not have a scenario that idealistically looked like because I had a vision in my head.
Okay.
Right?
See, I didn't know that though.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So that is kind of where we're getting to with the excellence fatigue. Very often we have these expectations, we have these overviews, and we don't explain to those around us how they can help us or how they can tap into whatever we have going on to make sure that we're not getting to our wit's end.
Okay, so let's go back to that scenario because I want to come back to that. We have Xander, and give me the second name. Shannon. Xander is experiencing excellent fatigue in the workplace. Okay?
Yes.
Describe to me this scenario so that the audience understands where we're going with this.
Okay, so Xander is your typical A+ guy, right?
This is the guy that's showing up on time.
He is on time.
He's taking his 30-minute lunch breaks.
And as a matter of fact, he's having working lunch breaks.
He's working lunch breaks.
Yeah. He doesn't get the 30 minutes.
This guy sounds like a guy I know. I hope he hears. I'm not going to say his name, but hey, shout out you. You know who you are. I know exactly. I know this exact guy. He skipped. Matter of fact, he might even skip lunch.
Correct.
And
what is lunch?
He's taking work home with him. They're calling him at 6, 7 o'clock to get things. TM. That's Xander. That's this guy. Is he a boomer? What is he? Xander is a what?
Xander might be between a boomer and a millennial. Because,
okay.
I think that the narrative of working hard and having that be the reward is something maybe you and I are two or three generations detached from. Because we believe in working hard and also playing hard. Or maybe to some of us playing harder.
Correct. I work harder and play harder.
Correct.
That's me.
And I'm right there with you. But
actually, I don't. I work smart and play hard. That's what I do. I don't even. I would say I do not experience excellent fatigue. I don't even let myself get to that point.
That for you. That is not my experience.
I know. And that's why we're here today to unpack that. Now, who is Shannon in this scenario?
Shannon is the office sweetheart, right?
Okay.
She comes in, she gives a little...
Is she on time?
Nah, she's 15 to 20 minutes.
She's 15. Every day, 10 to 15.
She's gonna come. She's gonna be...
Correct.
Like Cat Williams said, I'm gonna be late, but I'm still gonna come.
Right.
Because we have a different respect. I know I'm coming. They know I'm coming. I know they gonna be there. And they know I'm going to do the best job I can possibly do. And because I've never strayed from that, they've never strayed from their part.
Okay, so, 15 to 20 minutes late. But when she comes, she reads her email. And if you don't tell her that you need her to do something, then we don't really know what she's doing.
Okay, but here, all right, to your scenario, should we have to tell her? Like, she's coming in to do a job, should we have to tell her what her job is? Unless Xander is the team lead. So, Xander...
Not even at that, though.
Okay.
Because hear me out. What is the team lead? I feel like there are people that have unofficial titles that take it upon themselves to be leading.
Correct. So, Xander, in this case, is self-appointed team lead. However, due to his hard work, the higher-ups are recognizing Xander. They ain't paying team lead money, perhaps, but they are recognizing Xander and do go to him for certain things. And as a result, Xander will communicate certain things to the rest of his office, correct? Which includes Shannon. So continue.
So Shannon is taking cues from Xander.
Mm-hmm.
Shannon, and she's willing, right?
And what age is Xander? What is she?
We're putting ages on here.
No. Okay, no. What generation? I'm sorry. Is she a millennial? What is she? Zillennial? What is Xander?
You know, I think that the generation that is coming in doing the work and wants to leave on time is very much the later millennial, truly zillennial, and then Gen Z. Like, if you told me that I get off at 4:00 at 3:55,
yeah, you're packing.
I'm packing up,
correct,
so that I can leave by 4.
Right. And Xander is the guy staying till if you get off at 4, he's probably staying till like 4:30, 4:45, and then he might even take work home with him. Yeah. So continue. So Shannon gets off at her appointed time. Shannon is coming into work. If she is on time, it's right at 8:30. If she's probably coming in 5, 10, 15 minutes late.
But she makes it up though, right? Mm-hmm. So like, you know, if it's a 30-minute lunch, she'll do the 25. But she's taking lunch.
Yo, she's on time at that. She's correct. Taking her lunch, and she might even take the 45-minute one if she was on time that day. she's going to get her time in some way or another.
But the thing is, these two people are working in the same exact work environment, but they're having completely different experiences.
Correct.
Shannon she gets to come in and be happy-go-lucky and shiny because she has breaks, because she has set these boundaries. Xander is trying to play to his strengths. We applaud him for that. He's trying to get that recognition from supervisors. We also appreciate that. But sir, are you okay? Like, are you truly okay? And the answer is no. He is not okay. When you look at him, he looks distraught. He looks like he's going through unimaginable hell. Excuse my French.
I don't think the French people who listen to this podcast would feel offended. But I think Xander is tired. Xander might actually be happy-go-lucky, and he probably is. He's probably like a great guy outside of the office. He probably does spend time with his family and friends, has time for a relationship. Whatever it is that Xander wants to do, he's doing. But
so you mentioned something, right?
Sure, go ahead.
So I think that, again, we're not solely focusing on work. Let's leave work and let's go home.
Okay.
Let's go.
Because excellence fatigue does extend outside of the workplace.
It does.
Yes.
It does. So, like, when you go home, who are you? Right? Who are you? Who is the you that your friends see? Who is the you that your family sees? And who is the you that you want to be? And I think that very often, excellence fatigue also manifests itself there for our parents listening in. You got to make sure that you're showing up and being like, you know, maybe the soccer mom or the coach dad, right? So you want to be active and you want to be present and you want to have a role and you want to be plugged in. You done worked 8 to 9 hours and then you had maybe an hour of a break and now you're going to practice or now you're helping kids with homework. Like, the cycle never finishes. It doesn't stop. That's for the parents. For our young folks, y'all, we trying to be healthy, happy, whole, and healed. So we have to hang out with our friends. We have to have these phone calls for y'all, for those of y'all that are in relationships, trying to make sure that looks sustainable.
Here's my disconnect with that. When I work a 9 to 5, or for all my nurses out there, you work your 3 days, your 12-hour shifts, you work your 3 days, and then you get home right? Does excellent fatigue look like me being social and having to show up to do these things, spend time with my friends, go out on a town or travel? Is that what excellent fatigue looks like? Does it look like when I'm getting home, outside of my responsibilities, sustaining and still fulfilling them is what makes me excellent? And that is also making me tired. When does excellence fatigue begin and end is my question. So step 1 is we do something that makes us excellent, right?
Right.
Step 2 is sustaining that.
Right.
Step 3 is having our identities associated with that excellence. Okay.
However, I think that the constant pursuit of perfection is what is exhausting. I think that very often, I know I heard this growing up, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you also heard it growing up. You have to be great at everything that you do. Literally.
That's not what I heard.
Oh, what did you hear?
You have to be twice as good to get half as much.
But when is it enough?
Well, I again, and this is my disconnect with that. Me, myself, I know that my body has limitations. I know that my mind has limitations. I know there are things that I'm interested in, things that I'm not interested in. If I'm going to sustain one thing, I know that other things suffer as a result. If I'm going to work a 9 to 5, right? I know that I have to go to sleep at a certain time in order to get the required amount of rest for that to be sustainable. I know if I'm on a gym regime and I'm trying to gain 20 pounds of muscle, I know that I have to eat certain things for that to be feasible. So in so doing, in achieving excellence, the way that I would avoid excellent fatigue is being okay with what it is that I'm losing in my pursuit of excellence. And I look at people like you, Desifer, you're an entrepreneur, you're a podcaster, you are a employee, you are a sister, you are a second mom, some would argue, you are a daughter. Desiree does all of these different things simultaneously, sometimes literally simultaneously. She has to bring her work with her to the events. The question for you, a person like you, is not only when does it end, how long is it sustainable until you crash? Because you're going to crash. It's inevitable. You will. And what buffers, what solutions, what are we doing to prevent excellent fatigue and keeping us sustainable? And then my second question to you would be, what are you okay with giving up in order to achieve excellence? Because no matter how you slice it, you're giving up something. And sometimes it's your health. Sometimes it's your sleep. Sometimes it's the bonds you make with others. In your pursuit of being this excellent person, what are you okay with giving up? Sometimes it's just your time. Sometimes you might get lucky and the only thing you gave up was a trip to Bora Bora. But sometimes we're not always that lucky. Sometimes we forsake our friends, our family, our church, if you're religious, or our dean, or our relationship with those around us or God. We may forsake one opportunity for another. We may forsake the money because we thinking long term when you could have had the short term money now. Sometimes we forsake that. We may forsake the fashion. We can't buy the watch, the Rolexes. We can't buy the J's. We out here with the slides because they're coming. We may forsake opportunity where if we had made a slightly different decision, there would not be a need for me to constantly be excellent. So I have two questions for you. What are you doing to combat excellent fatigue? And what are you okay with giving up?
I am a very large proponent and a very large advocate, now at least, of being intentional about taking pauses. Because if I don't take those pauses, I will experience a very hot flash of burnout. And what is burnout for those that do not know? Burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It is typically seen when you're overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet the constant demands. That stress will literally eat you alive, and it will bleed into in various aspects of your life, where you will lose interest and motivations for the things that you were passionate about in the first place. So I know that if I want to show up as that person that can be excited and enthusiastic and engaging, I need to put a break on all of the things that I have going on, right?
So it's like project management. It's rather than building in buffers, you're building in self-care.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, self-care is really, I'm going to go ahead and give a little quick shout out to my girl, Alexandra May. And Alexandra, in our 2020 conversation at the height of the pandemic, we were talking self-care. And you said something that really resonated with me.
What did she say?
She said self-care is not selfish.
Well, duh. Self-care is absolutely not selfish. And listen, take that vacation. Use that PTO. If you have use or lose, use it. All of it. All of it. You will get more. Use all of it.
You will get more. It's crazy.
Use that sick time. Listen, if you're not feeling it today, and your company doesn't have mental health days, because some of them don't, you're not feeling it today, use that sick leave. I count that. I'm sick. I'm not feeling it today.
Right? So
the sun was not shining right. It's too cloudy outside. Sick leave.
One of the books that I recently decided to get into was the Healthy Mind Toolkit by PhD and author Alice Boyles, where she talks about self-care in lieu of overworking and how it can help us be the TikTok of our lives, right? Like how it can help kind of put us on a pendulum. And really what I'm trying to get at, or the overarching framework, is that we need to bounce back and have some sort of balance, right? It's not enough to acknowledge a behavior. It's more important to determine how to pivot and how to be better. So that is where we come in with that talk of self-care, right? Self-care can be anything. It can be taking a walk. It could be listening to music. For me, I know it's making sure that I prioritize time with friends and family. It's a wide range of different experiences, and it's important for each person to figure out what's going to work for them. For others, it could be journaling. For others, it could simply be something as small as making a cup of tea or coffee. But if we negate ourselves, if we continue to perpetuate these behaviors, I don't think that anyone really wants to see what the aftermath of that chaos is going to be. So,
how are people our age taking accountability for their own health and wellness, and ensuring that they are doing what's best for them as far as self-care?
So I think that you have found a fair framework for your bounce back, right? So I know that you're really big on making sure that you prioritize time to work out and to exercise. So that's a way that you're chiming in with your body and also with your mind. I know that you're going to shell out time to sleep. I should probably take several pages from that book. Because it was like, and I'm going to bed now. And I'm like, oh, that's lovely. At a reasonable time. And then also just like making sure that you're like, you know what, I truly want to do XYZ or have XYZ experience. So I'm going to figure out how to factor that in.
One of my one of my friends, she has like a running gag. She says that I'm not dependable past 9:00. If you call me past 9:00 p.m.
Yeah, that do not disturb really. I'm like, it's kind of selfish. But you know what? Self-care is not selfish.
Self-care is not selfish.
You know how you're going. When you show up, you show out, and you do really well. And so I think in order to continue to do that, you have to build in those pauses for yourself. And I think that, again, it's not necessarily, oh, I have to do everything all at once. It's, if I'm going to do everything, it has to have its proper place and its proper positioning, right? And that kind of leads me into some of these 5 strategies that Boyce talks about when we're looking at self-care and how it has its positive impact on emotions. So 1, we keep talking about work because I think for a lot of us, work is a very large component of our lives. We spend a significant amount of time at work. And then for our students, those that are working at various levels, whether it's our high school students, our undergraduate students, or even our graduate students, constantly working to produce, to write, to have a successful project or a great paper. Those are things that I think can cause us to overextend ourselves. A great way to overcome exhaustion is first and foremost acknowledging that overwork is not the only means to being professionally successful, right? I believe that we're all familiar with the adage of less is more. It's not always the over-glamorized, expansive thing that is good. Something as simple as a clean-cut presentation has significant value.
One of the ways that you can be consistent in generating positive emotions and positive outcomes, or rather the second way, you should say, is to be clear on your values and follow them. What are you willing to compromise on? What are you willing to give up? What are you willing to fight for until your last breath if necessary? Based off of the way my life is set up, I value sleep because I know that I value my sleep, I value my rest, I value my shut-off time. So I know that once I get off work at whatever time I get off, let's say I get off at 5, I know 6 o'clock, 5 till 6, have a little break, 6 to 8, do my studying, 9 o'clock, I'm shutting everything down. So being clear on what your values are and following them. And I see this all the time, hustle culture. I've never subscribed to that. I would say, do not focus on the hustling, but instead go deeper on your goals and your craft and find alternative ways to get there. So the hustling in and of itself, in my opinion, isn't what gets you, what gets you the success you're looking for, but rather understanding the deeper meaning behind your goals and improving upon your craft is what gets you there.
And I'm going to just interject really quickly. I think that very often we're always looking at the final destination. We're always looking at the big picture, but we are not giving enough credit or appreciation to the journey, right? Part of getting to whatever goal or objective you're setting is having the experience and learning along the way. So putting some type of appreciation to that experience helps it be even better and greater for you in overarching value.
And on that note, look at the people who are doing it. If you're mentioning a journey, find positive role models. Find those people who have been there, done that, talk to them. How have they gotten to the point where they're at? Because I'm sure in order to be where they're at, they've made sacrifices, yes, but they've achieved balance. They've achieved success without having to overwork. That's how they're at the stage that they're at now. And that's why they're able to play hard.
And then, we're talking about playing hard. We're talking about finding balance. And something that is a learning curve for me and a lot of the people that I know is saying no. Being able to say no to unreasonable requests, unreasonable acts, regardless of where they are coming from, right? It is definitely a challenge to think, oh, wow, I do have the capacity or the capabilities or the ability to do something, but is it worth the sacrifice, right? Is it worth the price that you're going to pay? And is that a hill that you're willing to die on? If the answer to that question is no, then say no. And that no is not you not being supportive or encouraging. It is you recognizing your limits, setting boundaries, and performing a much needed self-preservation. Because excellence fatigue is exhausting and it does lead to burnout. So overarchingly, these are just 5 different ways that we can practice self-care, that we can tap into some positive emotions. And as Dr. Alice Bowe says, self-care helps us to maintain a positive mood. And the absence of self-care can leave us feeling terrible. That is not something that we want for you all.
But even with us, we're unpacking ways to be better than some previous generations as far as our work ethics and achieving our goals. And a page that we've taken from previous generations is the love and ability to constantly focus on ways to get the job done in the time that it needs to get done. And where we're differing now in this new generation is still getting the job done, but building in ways to do it sustainably and in good health, while also reducing toxic environments that may yield you the results, but it may not yield the sustainability. So this is where we're at, and we all have to work on. We all have a journey. And with that, we're going to end on a poem.
One of my girlfriends was like, you know what? I have so much experience in this. I could even write a poem. And I said, go ahead, girl, write this poem. That being said, we were talking about excellent fatigue, being entrepreneurs, being businesswomen, sisters, friends, all these different things. And my girl, Yasmin, came up with a short poem, which I saw, I read, I resonated with, and I also added a couple of words and my personal touch too. So Yaz, this one is from you with a touch of me. And the title of this piece is Sis is Tired. When I look at myself in the mirror, I can see the bags under my eyes. I recognize and I realize that I see a strong woman. The thing is, I didn't want to be strong. Being strong is too demanding, but I have to, and I don't want to. I want to be soft. I want to be able to explore my femininity and truly uncover whatever that means to me. I want to be able to be just me in society, even though the orders and the older people tell me the same things over and over again. The older generation are constantly comparing me to themselves. Yes, but have you seen the world lately? How can I be you when the world is constantly changing? I don't know how to be myself. I'm torn between so many different masks and so many different identities. I just want to scream, sis is tired. Let me be me. Let me be free. Let me find out what that really means to be. And if I make mistakes, just let me be. Because perfection is never what I craved. I just wanted to live and live a life that made me happy. And the truth is, sis is tired and sis is also me. Snaps. And fellas, bro, we know you tapped. We hear you. We see you. We feel for you. We understand you. And it is okay to take a break. Self-care is not selfish.